Welcome to this recording of our fourth and final Are You Ready for Recovery webinar, delivered by the Travel Foundation as part of the Big Up Small Business programme, supporting small and medium tourism businesses in Jamaica. The programme is run in partnership with and funded by TUI Care Foundation, and this series of webinars was facilitated with TPDCO. It's a series of 4 webinars with an accompanying toolkit, and this final webinar and toolkit are designed to help your business get ready for business. The webinar was hosted by Coral Purvell-Williams and Rebecca Armstrong, both of the Travel Foundation.
Also, please be reminded that questions should be posted in chat and we'll answer them during the question and answer segments. Rebecca? So as I mentioned before, today we'll be providing information to you on how to get ready for business. We'll be looking at your routes to market, customer service and communications, and online sales and marketing. We have quite a bit of information packed into today's schedule. So our presentations are going to be covering the general top line information. And the toolkit that you're going to get at the end of the session will have a bit more detail and other relevant information which you'll be able to use in your businesses. Today, we're also going to have some guest presentations, a guest interview, breakout room discussions, and a short quiz. Like I said before, quite packed, but we hope you'll be able to learn a lot today. Rebecca is now going to take us through routes to market. Over to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Coral. So yes, the first of the 3 topics that we're going to cover in this morning's webinar on getting ready for business is the different routes that you can take to market, and all of those will be different according to your business. The mix will be different according to your own business needs. But as tourist arrivals are slowly picking up, it's really a good opportunity to reevaluate how your business is connecting to the tourist market and how it's being sold to customers. So within this section, I'm going to look at the different routes to market for your business and just provide some advice and guidance on how you can make contact, present and promote your offer to the different audiences. So on this next slide, these are really the key players. There's a number of different types of operators who make up the supply chain for selling accommodation, transport, attractions and experiences in Jamaica. And this table, all this detail, this really summarises the detail that you'll find in the toolkit. So don't worry, I appreciate it's a lot to take in on one slide, but this is really just to show these different players within the market and the types of things they do, and I'll just go through them quickly now. But as I say, the detail is there in the toolkit for you to work through at your own pace and to work out how that applies to your business. So as I said, there's a number of different types of operators. First of all, there's international tour operators. So that's operators like TUI or Sunwing, for example, and they offer package holidays, which combine accommodation and travel and or food and or excursions. Package holidays need to comprise 2 or more elements. The large mainstream tour operators tend to contract well in advance, and they'll feature the offerings in their brochures and online. The smaller independent tour operators usually tend to work through a local ground agent or destination management company, and that destination management company selects accommodation and experiences on their behalf. Obviously, tour operators have the capacity to bring large groups of tourists because they have the infrastructure and the suppliers on the ground, so they tend to work at that kind of volume. And moving across, there's ground agents or ground handlers, destination management companies, domestic tour companies. There are lots of different terms, but this effectively describes the local agent. So these are people like perhaps Jamaica Tours or Amstar, who we heard from last time. And they act as the local agent, as I said, for international tour operators. And they're really responsible for customer satisfaction. So they're also able to provide 1 or more holiday elements, so tours, accommodation, etc. Then moving across, excursion suppliers. So suppliers like Island Routes or Caribbean World, for example. There are several businesses in Jamaica that have been set up as excursion suppliers, and they either sell tours that they've put together themselves, including local attractions or tours provided by excursion providers. They usually work directly with ground agents, but they might also work with large hotels as well, where their tours are sold from a tour desk within the property. And moving on across the table, excursion providers and tour guides, Juta Tours, for example, Kenny Tours. These are businesses that have set themselves up to take tourists around attractions or provide activities, or maybe a mixture of both. They usually bring smaller groups of tourists, so they put together a more bespoke tour. And they get most of their business from ground agents, excursion suppliers and hotel tour desks, but they also get direct bookings from tourists as well. And they're likely to be good contacts if you're offering attractions or activities. So excursion providers would be a good route to market for you. Then the next column across, contract carriage taxi drivers. They're licensed by the Jamaica Tourist Board to transport tourists. Many of them, as you know, are affiliated to hotels, so they can take people on tours of the island. Some taxis base themselves at the cruise ports, so they can take cruise passengers on tours. These taxi drivers could also be classified as excursion providers. There's obviously a crossover there. And moving across, online travel agents. So these are companies like Expedia, Booking.com, etc. They're obviously online companies, and their websites allow consumers to book various travel-related services directly via the internet. And this has obviously become very popular, particularly in the sort of last-minute booking segment, and also due to the rise in using smartphones for bookings. And then finally, direct sales. So your business can facilitate bookings itself directly by phone or through your website. Direct online sales have been going up during the COVID pandemic. And this does give an opportunity to boost sales without losing money in fees or commission to third-party agents, but it's clearly much more time-consuming and labour intensive. So there's that trade-off there as well. So moving on to the next slide. This really just shows the different operators, how they all sort of work together, in the sense that how the ecosystem almost fits together. So international tour operators tend to work with DMCs, excursion agents there as well, OTAs and search engines, all of those input into the search for customers for attractions and experiences, transport and accommodation. So there's links between all of them, and we'll have a look at that a bit later on in a bit more detail. So in terms of identifying the potential routes to market, these are the steps really in terms of getting ready for business, the steps that you need to take. So the first one, you need to identify your potential routes to market. So the best way to do this is to really do some research to find out which international tour operators are selling holidays to Jamaica, who are the ground agents in Jamaica, and if you're providing experiences and attractions, identify all the excursion agents and local tour operators. So do your research and find out who the best contacts are for you. Next step is then to make contact with them. For international tour operators, you might need to find out who the destination manager or country manager is. In most cases, it's probably easiest to send an email, but then you should also expect to follow up with a telephone call. And it's a good idea to invite those agents along to experience your product firsthand, so that the toolkit will give you detailed guidance on how to make contact and the best way to approach these different operators. So there's a lot more detail in there that you can go through and work out who are the best contacts for you and how best to make contact with them. And then the final step is really to make sure that you prepare really well for those meetings. So you'll make a great impression if you've got the right things ready to share with those agents. So a completed risk assessment form, for example, we went through this in module 2. So look back at the toolkit there and go through your risk assessment, and then you can show that you've gone through that process carefully. High quality photographs of your product and also of customers enjoying them. Testimonials are always great. If you've got good reviews that you can quote from customers, that will really demonstrate that you've got a good quality product that is popular with customers, and any other PR or marketing materials that you've got. And then in terms of preparing your pitch, once you've got that meeting, again, do your research on the company. So really identify the kind of experiences they already offer and the types of tourists and source markets that they cater to. really listen to what their needs are, ask them about their particular needs and what they're looking for and how you can help them meet a gap or meet a particular need. Highlight why your product's special. So what's different about your product from your competitors, and what will their customers love about it. And then finally, really importantly, invite them to experience it, because there's no better way for them really to understand what your product is and what you can offer than actually experiencing it for themselves. So I'm going to hand over back to Coral, who is going to welcome our first guest presenter today. Thank you.
Yes, I'm now going to invite Tamika Higgins Baker. Tamika is the Senior Market Manager for Jamaica Lodging at Expedia Group. And Tamika is going to be giving us a presentation on how you can get ready for business through Expedia Group. Thank you, Tamika.
Thank you, Coral. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen quickly. One moment. Thank you. Awesome. Just confirm if everyone can see my screen.
We can. Thank you, Tamika.
Awesome. Thank you for this opportunity, everyone. So we've all been impacted by COVID-19 in many shapes and form. And as travel restrictions are being lifted, we anticipate that people be eager, to reschedule any missed holidays, plans, adventures, and so on. And Expedia's platform is pretty much one of the first go-to place to kind of do the research, to dream, to shop, and to see what the products in Jamaica have to offer, both small to large, right? So COVID-19 is happening, however, customers are dreaming. Now, when you think about Expedia's platform, we are in over 200 countries, so it's a global company, and we have over 10 trusted brands, the most popular one being Expedia, Hotels.com, and Travelocity, you may be familiar with. It's pretty easy to list your property on Expedia, right? We welcome all lodging partners, big and small. The first thing you would need to do is to go on Expedia.com, and at the very top right-hand corner, you'll have list your property, and it's just a few simple steps to give some insights as to what your product is, number of rooms, the type of product, and so on. So super, super easy to do that. So if you haven't done that, and if you're not a Expedia partner, this is your opportunity to really take your product online to be more visible globally. Then, how to maximize visibility on Expedia, right? Again, we have so many different brands, right? So once you have everything set up on Expedia, we channel your product details across all our brands, right? In all the different countries. So as travelers are visiting our sites to keep dreaming and shopping for travel, we see where the dreamers are like really high level, they're there, right? But how do we get them to really stop dreaming and really make that purchasing decision? It's all about your product. It's all about how attractive it is. It's all about the messaging and so on. So customers are definitely on our platform dreaming and shopping for travel in the short term, and of course the mid to long term. We know that Expedia can sell super, super last minute, but at the same time, we can also sell all booking windows as well. Then when you think about how, okay, customers are searching and they're looking, what do I need to do? You talk about visibility and all of that. What are people wanting to see? We want to suggest like pre-pandemic levels, pictures and information on destination websites, reviews and so on, were always important, right? Now with the pandemic and looking ahead, it is even more important to have information updated as best as possible. Pictures tells 1,000 words, right? So it's also important to invest in really good photography to ensure that you're highlighting your properties in the best way possible. Information surrounding what the product it is that you're offering, number of beds, what is so special about the accommodation or the attraction, and so on and so forth. Your reviews are also super, super important, because now more than ever, customers, to give that peace of mind, to remove that hesitancy, are looking and reading more reviews now more than ever. So these are super, super important in looking ahead via Expedia's platform. And I'm sure it's not only Expedia, all online platforms that that is pushing your product. Now, when we think about the road to recovery and what customers want, again, things are changing so rapidly. This minute it's one thing, next minute it's the other. But in order from 1 to 6, health and safety is number one. I'm sure that is something that is no news to anybody right now. People want to know that your measures from an environmental hygiene standpoint, social distancing, and so on, it's pretty clear. To make sure that they feel safe when they get into Jamaica and they get to your attraction and or accommodation, right? So what is also equally important is flexibility. The flexibility to know that if something should happen, they can move around their vacation plans and not be, not lose everything in a nutshell. So flexibility is like huge in these days, right? Advanced planning and knowledge and empowerment. Knowledge and empowerment includes basically anything and everything that you can supply to give them more peace of mind about the destination, about the product, safety, and all these different topics that, customers are really, really interested in looking for their accommodation and coming into the destination. So they're searching and they want to come. So let's make it a lot easier for them despite the restrictions and all of that. Now, quickly, we want to take a look at, again, I mentioned flexibility, and I just wanted to share this insight here. 7 in 10 customers, when we did this research, feels more confident in traveling in the next 12 months with properties or attractions that have really awesome flexibility policies, right? So they're interested in like travel insurance, they're interested in trip protection, refunds, so on, transportation, accommodation. So again, I said it before, but I wanted to reiterate the confidence in travel, flexibility does matter. And that is like super, super core right now, for travelers. And then what does Expedia do well? How do we position your product? When we think about flexibility and, many of our partners may be saying, okay, how flexible can we get? How do we protect those bookings that we may have gotten earlier, right? So if we have a flexibility policy, how do we protect, not having them cancel at the very last minute and we lose everything? So your strategy is super important. Yes, you want to have the flexibility, but focusing in strategy along the package path, which is basically bundling of your air, your hotel, and your activities, makes it a little bit harder for customers to actually cancel the package totally, right? Because you cannot just cancel one thing, it's a whole package, right? So it's easier to shift and move forward versus completely, asking for a refund and not traveling any at all. So it's super important that your strategy surrounds package path to help you with lower cancellation lower cancellation rates, and also give you good base and solid customers who are really, really serious about traveling sometime in the future, whether it's now, mid, or later. And especially, we want to keep in mind as well that the air seats are surpassing 2019 levels for like winter. So we want to capitalize on that as well. So in 2019, we had really good seats, but now for winter, for 2021, these seats have increased. So we want to make sure that these flights that are coming in, whether it's through the legacy carriers, they're not empty seats heading into the destination, which is why we want to make sure that all our partners, both small to medium and large, really have good package strategies to capitalize on, using the air seats that we have for the destination. And of course, travelers are searching much farther out for international trips. We see within LATAM, which includes, the Caribbean, pretty much 31 to 60 and 61 to 90 days is the average booking window for destination Jamaica. We are definitely getting, the business farther out as well, 91 to 180 days and even 180 plus. So good mix of business for the booking window. So just capitalize on that as far as a strategic plan is concerned. And then the call to action, everything that I've discussed today, thinking about Expedia and the strategy that would work best for you, I would say the main one is to include your package savings in your overall strategy and target the mid to advanced window, because we can sell last minute, right? So that is something that will happen. But how can you be super strategic? Think ahead, right? Think advance. The advantages to that is you can build your base early, longer lengths of stay, lower cancellation rates, quality customers, better average daily rates, and savings that you'll give to the customers for the package. They can use it on site to upgrade their rooms, to book the spa, to book the dinners, to book the attractions, and all of that. So pretty much that's about it in a nutshell as far as on the road to recovery and how Expedia can help to support your plan.
Great, thank you, Tamika. I think that was really useful information that you've provided for the businesses in terms of helping them to strategize, to not just list with Expedia, but any online travel agency that they're thinking of going with, and even just in terms of their own businesses. We're going to take questions now. If you have any questions for Tamika, or if you have any questions for Rebecca from our previous presentation. So post your questions in chat, please. So we have one question, Tamika. Oh, your contact details. Are you able to share that?
Yes, Coral, you have it, right? Do I share
yes,
it now, or you can? Okay.
I was about to say yes. I can share Tamika's contact details with everybody. When we send out the information to you later on regarding the toolkit and so on, we'll share Tamika's contact information as well.
And Tamika is based here in Jamaica, as a FYI.
Yeah. Question, can you elaborate a little more about targeting the mid-advanced windows?
Okay, thank you for that question. So when I talk about mid to advanced window, as we're seeing the searches, right, on the platform increasing for those window, again, like I said, Expedia does a really good job in selling last minute, right? And the mobile channel helps to drive that. However, we're seeing a trend where customers, when they go online, right, and they're searching, and the periods that they're looking at, the booking window that is becoming super, super attractive, where we are having a lot more searches, right, is within the mid. When I say mid, I am talking about like 61 to 90, right, booking window. And we're talking now, we're right in December. So we're talking about March, in February, March from now. And that is like smack in the middle of Q1 winter. So there is a demand that is there. So to capitalize on the search demand, set your strategy to target those customers, because the search is there. So why not have a good strategy along package path, right? Targeting this particular booking window, the 60 to 90 window, which is most popular right now. That's what I mean when I say the mid to advanced. Advanced is like 90 plus. We're talking about Q2 now, right? I mean, 90, 120, so on and so forth.
So you're looking at 2 to 3 months is what
Correct.
the mid to advanced window is. Okay.
Correct.
So people need to now be thinking about what it is their packages, what package you're going to put together for that time period from now.
From now, to incentivize those who are searching, right? You don't want to wait until last minute when you're not filling up your rooms with the base to give it away, right? So that will cause you to have poorer ADR, right? If you build your base, right, and you have strong customers already on the books, you're able to yield up closer in, right? To increase your ADR a little bit because you have built your base. If you don't do that now, then you tend to want to give it away because you need to fill the rooms at the last minute, right? So
right, and we don't want to be in that position. Thanks, Tamika.
No.
Are there any other questions? While we wait, I have one question to ask you. When you spoke about bundling, one of the advice you gave was for people to bundle their offerings so that it makes it easier and less easy for people to cancel, right? My question is, how can a small business, because a lot of the persons who are online with us now are small businesses, how can a small business who only offer like one segment, say they just offer accommodation or they just offer an experience, how can that business bundle or create something, a package bundle that will be appealing?
Okay, that's an awesome question. So on Expedia, once you are on the package path, because if you know our website, right, you can book the air only, you can book the hotel only, or you can package, right? So within our extranet, once you've signed up with Expedia, right, we usually ask for a standard discount for package customers, whether it's 5%, that is better than a public rate, or 10%. So once you have that set up in the extranet or through a promotion, or algorithm would recognize that you're offering a differential rate for package customers. So in the sort order, right, whether you're a small property or a large property, you will notice if you go on Expedia, right, yes, we do have some listings that you have to pay for that probably gets a higher sort, right? However, if you go on Expedia, you see we have a wide mix of hotel types or smaller villa types that are there. It's not just unique to like the big brands and chains, right? We see smaller units there, and they're actually rising up in the sort order because of their offer strength, right? So if you have a good package differential versus a standalone, the algorithm of the system will recognize that this is a good offer. And then when customers are searching, your property will pop up. However, if a customer should book the flight with the air, also for our partnership actions and so on, the system will automatically suggest transportation options, attraction options where you can also package right then and there, book it right then and there while you're booking your hotel and your air. That is what I mean when I say bundling. You have the capability to have all these products exposed through the package journey on Expedia.com.
Okay, great. Thanks again, Tamika. Are there any other questions? I'll just give a few more moments to see if anybody else has any other questions for Tamika. All right. Okay, doesn't seem to be. Thank you so much, Tamika. Thanks for that very informative presentation. And as usual, if anyone else has, or if you think of any other questions after this, you can always email it to us or jamaica@thetravelfoundation.org. We'll forward them to Tamika and we'll send the responses to you. So please feel free to let us know if you have any other questions. Thanks again, Tamika. That was really useful.
Thank you, Coral. It's a pleasure.
Okay, great. Over to you, Rebecca.
Great, thank you, Coral. So we're going to move into a breakout room activity in a moment, which we're going to base again on our case study of Sam's Mango Farm. I think most of you have probably heard the details of the case study before if you've been to some of the previous webinars, but just in case, I'll just run through the details quickly for you. So Sam owns a mango farm, obviously, in Jamaica, and he wants to diversify, or has decided to diversify, to give himself an income alongside farming. So he's still going to continue farming, but he wants to diversify his income streams. So he's created some accommodation for visitors. He's created a tour of the farm, so he takes visitors around and tells them the history of his family and the farm itself and how the mangoes are farmed, and gives them lots of interesting facts as he takes them around. He's also got bikes for hire, so tourists can hire bikes while they're there and ride around the countryside and explore the farm. And alongside that as well, his wife is offering cooking lessons on an outdoor kitchen. So that's another activity that the tourists can take part in. And also his cousin has a boat, a glass bottom boat that they've sort of teamed up so that visitors to the farm can also go on trips on the boat as well. So that's Sam. And for this session, following on from what we've just been thinking about, really, the different routes to market, I've allocated you into a breakout group, so you'll be invited to join one in a moment, and as a facilitator for each of those groups. So 3 questions really to think about, and just to talk around these really. There's no requirement to report back or anything, so it's really just put yourself in Sam's shoes and think about if you're starting out, particularly sort of coming back after the pandemic, what could Sam do in terms of identifying routes to market? So what are the 3 best routes to market that Sam could think about? Who would he need to work with to access those markets, and how should he approach them? So thinking about what we were thinking about earlier, so what kind of things should he get ready, for example, for a meeting? How should he approach them? What research should he do to find out who he should approach? So I'm just going to put in the chat a quick list of the routes to market that I covered earlier on in the presentation. So you should be able to see that when you're in your breakout groups. So just as a quick reminder, it's international tour operators, ground agents, excursion suppliers, excursion providers and tour guides, contract carriage and taxi drivers, online travel agents, and direct sales. So that's the sort of mix that Sam could think about. Which of those three might be best for him, do you think, and who should he work with? An approach to do that.
So so we're now going to be looking at customer service and communications now. As service providers, you should all be aware that you need to provide good customer service, and that is essential to the success of your business. Because the thing is, customers don't just want a regular experience, they really want a great experience. So, sorry, my thing doesn't seem to be working here. Good. So to ensure good customer service, you need to provide a warm welcome from the very first interaction that you're having with your customers, right through to a warm farewell. You also want to anticipate your customer needs. Think about what your visitors need to be satisfied at all times. Manage also your customer expectations. And this is going to mean that you need to brief them on things like what they will see, what they will do, things like the timings of your activities. And even, if you have a tour that requires special gear, you want to inform them about what to wear for those tours and so on. So you also need to provide, of course, reassurance, and you need to respond to your customer needs at all times. And of course, this is even more important now during the pandemic. The fact is that good customer service is really also about having staff that is well presented, staff that is knowledgeable, and staff that is friendly and professional. So we're going to look at moments of truth. What are moments of truth? Well, a moment of truth is when an interaction occurs between a customer and the service provider. And that interaction can have a lasting positive or negative impression on your customer. So in this respect, you should also think about your agents that you deal with, think about your tour operators that you deal with, as well as your customers. All of them, including your tourists, are all customers of your business. So as business providers, what really are your moments of truth? Well, every interaction is a moment of truth. And we're going to now just look briefly at the critical elements of your service delivery and how you can use each of those moments to create positive moments for your customers. So let's start with taking bookings. It's a good practice for you to confirm every booking that you get by email, even if it was made on the phone, because this way you have a clear written agreement, one that cannot be disputed, and one that clearly sets out what is expected for both parties. You should also respond quickly, and you should try not to overbook. Stick to your carrying capacity, please, because overbooking leaves a really bad taste in your clients' mouths. This pandemic has created a significant shift to online bookings and inquiries. So you need to also train your staff on your online systems and make sure you emphasize response time and improving your business's online experience for your customers. Because the last thing you really want is a customer to send your request to your online platform and then be kept waiting for a response. Fact is, they won't wait. They'll just move on to your competitor. The next element of service that you can use to create a lasting impression is transport and equipment. Of course, we went through this in the module 2 when we did health, safety, and security. You should ensure that your transport and equipment are always clean, that they're always in good working condition, and that they comply with regulations. And of course, nowadays, you also need to pay attention to the enhanced cleaning and capacity requirements as a result of COVID-19. The next element is customer service. From the welcome right through to customer departure, you need to manage the expectations that you provide, manage those expectations along the way, and ensure that your staff are well presented again and are knowledgeable. The other element that you want to use to create those special moments is activities. Your activities need to be exactly as you have described them, and they need to be delivered to the same high standard every single time. You really shouldn't have any of these. Food. If you serve food, you have an opportunity to showcase the Jamaican culture and the cuisine. aim to create happy, fun memories for your customers. And one way you can add interest to the meals that you provide is by telling stories behind the dishes and also explaining the ingredients. Try to involve your staff also in getting your customers excited about what they're eating. And also think about how you can enhance the presentation of the food to make sure that it is appealing to your customers. Guiding. If you use tour guides, make sure that they are knowledgeable and that they're able to interact well with their customers and act as engaging interpreters for your customers. They can use things like storytelling to create interest. A good tour guide is able to really connect with their customers, connect their customers with what they're seeing and what they're experiencing. And of course, it goes without saying that your guide needs to be alert to your customer needs, and they need to be alert to your customer interests so that they can respond accordingly. Your guide should also speak clearly, have excellent local knowledge, which they're able to communicate through, interesting stories and so on. They should be able to explain the culture through real life examples, and they should be able to adapt their commentary to different types of audiences. And of course, they also need to be enthusiastic as well as genuine and caring. Now, one of the things I need to add here is that the pandemic itself has created a new set of challenges for tour guides. So they now need to be fully aware of new health and safety guidelines, and they should also be able to both communicate and enforce these policies and the expectations to customers, and do so in a really professional way. And then the final element of service that I want to talk about is special touches. Throughout all aspects of your customer journey and in every interaction, you have the opportunity to surprise and delight your customers by adding special touches. Think about offering special gifts or finding ways to create, things like a sensory experience for your customers. For instance, you can, enhance the ambience or the atmosphere that you provide with small details like music, smells, lighting, displays, signage. And if you are, if you're in an enclosed area, it's even easier for you to do that. But if you're doing outdoor activities, you can find really interesting ways of making sure that you utilize all those sensory senses for your customers to really have a memorable experience. If we think about Sam's Mango Farm and the elements I just mentioned, we can look at some of the examples of how Sam can deliver a quality product and be able to create, moments of truth. So if we take the farm tour, for instance, Sam has an opportunity to build a connection with his guests. He could give information by giving information about his farm, but he could also utilize storytelling to talk about things like how long the farm has been in his family, how his grandparents used to live. Perhaps he could even draw a parallel to the rustic cabins that he has on the property to the way that his grandparents used to live back then. And he could also allow the guests to do things like tasting of the different types of mangoes and so on. Now, these will all allow Sam to have a connection with his customers and also add those special touches I just spoke about. Another moment of truth that Sam could use is, for the attraction is for Leroy in protecting the environment. So let's say Leroy is concerned about marine plastic and that he has decided to stop using single-use plastic on his boat tours. This is something he could communicate to his guests in his briefing, encourage them also to comply, and it speaks greatly to his, the sustainability that they're trying to practice on the farm, and would appeal, of course, to his customers and create that moment of truth. Another example is with the cooking lessons offered by Sam's wife, Shelley. So while she's preparing recipes in the outdoor kitchen with guests, she could enhance the authentic experience by, weaving in information about the food, about the ingredients, about her family traditions, and about the Jamaican culture and customs. And again, this will create a learning moment for their guests. So let's look at delivering customer, sorry, I seem to have the wrong slide there. I don't know what's going on today. Delivering excellent customer service. What I have here are some questions that I think you should ask yourself in your delivery of excellent customer service. Can I guess what a tourist wants before being asked? You need to be able to anticipate, and you need to be able to meet your customers' needs before you're asked. Do your customers look tired? Do they look upset? Do they look excited? How is it that you can anticipate their needs and deliver on their needs before they even ask? Another question you can ask yourself is, do I understand that different types of tourists need to be treated differently? So think about things like how you can keep, like, children interested and engaged, for example. Another question is, am I paying attention to details? So think about ways that you can make the experience seem more comfortable and more memorable by including extra services that cost little or no money. And then the final question I'm going to ask you to ask yourself is, can I solve problems? If things don't go according to plan, think about how quickly you can find a solution that really will not disappoint your clients. So customer service has the potential to really to make or to break your business. So by providing excellent customer service, you'll be able to enhance the reputation of your business and also be able to build trust with your customers. So some of the ways that you can do this is by having staff who genuinely care. Your staff need to be empathetic, and they need to be willing and wanting to help. Your guests may not really remember someone who was kind, but they will definitely remember someone who was not kind to them. So it's very important that you have staff who genuinely care. You should also make it easy for your customers to contact you. Make sure that things like your phone number, your email address, and other relevant contact details are readily available to your customers on all of your marketing and promotional material. So that includes things like your brochures, your flyers, your website, your social media sites, and so on. And while you're doing that, you should also make sure that you are able to support each of those channels with adequate staffing so that you can respond to queries and so on in a timely manner. You should also provide an easy to use feedback system. So online travel agencies and other online channels like TripAdvisor, for instance, allow customers to give reviews and to provide feedback on your facility and your service quality. But if you're not listed or not marketing on any of those platforms, you should still provide the opportunity to get feedback from your guests, because this will allow you to be able to improve on your service delivery and on your offerings. You should also provide a timely response. Aim to always respond as quickly and as possible to each and every complaint, regardless of the channel through which it was made. And it's also a good practice to thank those customers who compliment you. And I'd also like to add here that despite the challenges presented by COVID-19, it is still important for you to deliver quality service during the pandemic. So even though customers understand your need to adhere to COVID-19 protocols, they still expect excellent customer service. And some of the things that you can do to make sure that you continue to deliver excellent customer service during the pandemic are things like communicating clearly with your customers. Communicate clearly with them about what it is you're doing to respond to the pandemic, and let them know what steps you're taking to keep your customers and your staff safe. You also should educate your customers about how to interact with your business. So clearly describe what they should expect. For example, if you have new opening hours, or if you have maximum numbers that you're accepting and minimum numbers, mandatory mask wearing and things like that, you need to clearly inform them and educate them about that and how to interact with your business. You should also review your delivery standards, and again, prepare your staff on how to respond to customer needs during this time. And finally, as we discussed last week, and as Tamika also pointed out not long ago, adapt flexible policies to make cancellations and refunds easy. So before I end, I just want to leave you with one action to take, and that's you should consider regular assessments of the quality and the service delivery of your business. This is going to help you to determine what it is that you're doing well and where you need to make improvements. So this is a checklist that you have on the screen there that we've put together. It's a useful tool, I think, for you to use to assess the quality and the service delivery of your business. So you can take a moment to look at it, but we'll also include that checklist in the toolkit that you'll get after the webinar, so you'll be able to use it to guide you as well. All right. Thank you very much. I think, Rebecca, it's time for the interview.
Great, thank you very much, Coral. Yeah, I'm really pleased to welcome a guest today, an international guest. That's the beauty of being online today. We haven't even needed to fly him in. He's joining us from Albania. I'm really pleased to welcome Elton Koshi, co-founder of Albanian Trip. Elton, are you able to put your video on? Yeah, great. I'm just going to put the spotlight on you so that we can see you, so that everyone can see you. Perfect. That's great. So welcome. Elton's joined us. He's going to give us some personal insights on what Coral's just been talking about in terms of customer communications and providing that kind of special touch. So Elton, would you like to start just by telling us a little bit about your business, what you offer your customers?
Yeah, first of all, I'd love to thank you guys. Thanks the Travel Foundation and Rebecca for having communicated and inviting me to be in this meeting. And I would love to say hello to all our Jamaican friends. And I would love to, of course, everybody probably says that this is one of the places where I still dream of going. And when the pandemic is going to go to hell and we will go back to the good times, this is on top of my list of countries to visit. I would love to. Absolutely. I'm 45 years old. I'm born and raised in Albania. I don't know how many of you know, but Albania used to be, for European standards, it used to be until 30 years ago a sort of Northern Korea. It was a Stalinist country. I had a childhood in an isolated country. But already at the time I had started building up a dream of traveling. Somehow, we used to dream traveling, but we couldn't. Well, I used to read a lot. I used to watch movies. I used to try to listen to music, and those which were free to listen, because for some you could go to jail, like Bob Marley, for example. But the opportunity came after my childhood years, and I studied development in Switzerland. And I came back in my country, and after a few efforts, I put up this small tour company, which is called Albanian Trip, and where I try to build up not a travel factory, but a small boutique where I could provide mostly for experiences. 15 years ago, these were terminology which was not so fashionable to talk about, but here we are, and the things are evolving, and experience providing, experience designing is so fashionable now, and it's exactly what we try to do. Actually, we're small, but we have amazing clients, to be honest, and we are so lucky and so happy to do this work.
Great, thank you, Elton. And thinking about customer communications, how important are customer communications to a good experience for your guests?
Yeah, Rebecca, very modestly, I will tell a little bit from my experience. Actually, absolutely. It's all about communication. It's all about being honest at what you will provide. There is no need to put too many filters to make the things be too special, too fancy and everything. I believe that Jamaica or Albania, these are destinations which are interesting, intriguing already, and when you're talking to a Western or Western European and North American clientele, where I'm most experienced with, and where I believe probably you guys must have a lot of experience as well, they are already fascinated by what you're doing. Try to be honest. Honesty is the best thing. You need to be detailed, of course. I mean, this is a hard job, especially in the beginning. You're going to put up the material, which is going to tell about, people want to know hours. They want to know minutes, how many minutes we will spend, how many kilometers it will be the ride. You need to remember, I don't know how it's Jamaica, but in Albania, 25 kilometers can very often mean 2.5 hours, which for someone from Germany is something like unbelievable, but this is a country of mountains. Very often we're going in places where there is no road. So people need to know about this. And if you are going to be clear enough, and when the people will feel that you are honest about what you're saying and what you're doing, and you know what you're saying, I think this is the key to a wonderful experience that you will provide to your clients. And a happy client means at least another 3 clients in the next couple of years. Maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but you know what I mean. Yeah,
that's perfect. Thank you. And what do you where do you start in terms of meeting those customer expectations? How do you find out, or what do you need to find out about your customers to give them that great experience? What sort of things do you think about?
Yeah, it is like a little bit like a research process, to be honest. We try to find out about the age, we try to find out about the nationality, we try to find out about the physical shape. Physical shape is a big deal in this business, you know, like because you can have this group of 8 people, and you know, you will need to go to this castle or to that farm or to that beach, but you know, the car will need to stop 2 kilometers away. And you don't want to have one of the persons that has had a knee surgery last month, because what is going to happen is that you will have the whole group being stuck behind that person. The guide will need to take care of it, him or her, and you know, you don't want to have that as a surprise. So it is a great thing to learn about the customers before they come. The customers can be different. The customer can be a tour operator from Norway, the United States, or France. The customer can be just a couple in a honeymoon, and you will need to act differently in different cases. Let's say it is great. I love working with tour operators from Norway or France or the United States, because once things have been made clear, this is going to set up a path for the whole season. There is no need for you to, you know, keep asking the same questions. Your tour operator partner will take care of making sure that you know, everything is clear, and of course you will need to help with that. But when it comes to individual clients, or let's say a small company which is, you know, just a new client and everything, you will need to repeat that process. And it is so important to make things clear, to let them know that you know, after 4 p.m. there's going to be mosquitoes at the beach, because they wake up at that time and they will be thirsty for blood. So better make sure you bring anti-mosquito. You know, there's so many millions of eventualities, but you know, these are things that you already can set up a list of the things that you need to check with your customers, and then with the experience, you know, the things will come, you know, a lot more easy. Anyway, this is not an exact science. What we're doing here is working in travel, and this is something that you know, can change from one day to the other. All we need to do is, you know, we somehow working in this business, we are going to school all our life. We need to be informed all our life. There is no way you will not know about the news that are happening in Jamaica for longer than a week. People will come and they will ask you, you know, how is Jamaica dealing with the pandemic? What is the political situation? Who was elected as the mayor or as the president? You know, all these things, you need to be informed about this. The Museum of Independence can change its timetable. You want to know about this. You want to let the clients know. So it is a big network of information in the middle. It's a cyclone of information in the middle of which you need to be, and you need to divert it in your direction, in your own interest. This is going to make sure that, you know, like you are prepared for everything, and that your clients will know about everything that will happen, and that will eventually translate into a, you know, a great experience that you can build. But
Wonderful.
Keep your eyes open. Eyes open. You know, in our business, just check your phone. See how many phone numbers have you got there. Have you got the phone number of the mechanic? Have you got a doctor in the region where you have sent your client? Do you know the guys at the municipality to ask them if they can wait for an American couple to come and talk to them tomorrow? You know, communication is about everything. You know, like, it's so important. Nobody expects you to be the owner of the whole knowledge of Jamaica, but you need to find a way to that knowledge. You know, oh, some client broke a tire, you need to have someone to be nearby, you know, to go and help them change the tire. Certain client felt bad, and you need to know the nurse, you need to know the doctor. You know, there are certain things which are so helpful and which make life so easy and which give you this reputation in front of the clients. You know, have solutions for everything. That's our duty in this job.
It was really about, Coral was talking about actual touches that make your trips memorable. And in particular, I think I'd love to ask you about guides, how your guides make your customers' trips memorable.
I'm always warning the guides, you know, like the guides, they can tell, they can tell that kind of parrot kind of, or a magnetophone, whatever you want to call it, like you are not a magnetophone. People are not expecting you to press a play button and to go on and on and on with information, which so often they will read on their guidebook or will find on Wikipedia or everything. Of course, this is important. There is no way you will can afford not to know all these. And of course, you need to transmit some of these to the clients, but the clients that destinations like Jamaica or Albania are having, you know, they want to have personal experiences, and there is nothing that will resonate in the ears and in the sensation of a client from North America, South America, or Western Europe, like the stories that you heard from your grandparents, the stories you had from your childhood in that region or this region, you know, how your papa used to go to work, how your mama used to struggle to bring food at home, you know. These are all things which really, really resonate and which people can't find on books. You know, a guide is, being a guide is such an amazing job. You are lucky because you are standing in the middle of a holiday business, and somehow and to a certain extent, you're on a holiday. But on the other side, it's an unfortunate and terrible business or profession because you're putting your shoes on at 7 a.m. in the morning and you're taking them off at 11 p.m. so often. And it will go on for 12 days. And then there is going to be another group or another client. And this is going to go on for 6 or 7 months every year. It is exhausting. What you need to do is enjoy this. You know, if you don't like traveling, get out of this business. This is not for you. You know, people are on holidays. People are on a trip. They want you to be happy. They want to see it. And you need to be the kind of person which looks at the half full glass of water. You know, you, of course, will need to tell people about the problems. You'll need to tell them about the things which are wrong and everything. But remember that they will also want to know about the nice things, the interesting things. You know, you need to be an encyclopedia. You need to know, you know, about small details which people don't think of knowing. You need to be, I believe, a wealth of stories from grandparents. You know, do research those all the time. You need to love to talk to people. You need to research constantly. You're sitting, you are free, and it's the low season, but your job is not ended. You know, there is probably a museum you haven't seen. There is probably a book you haven't read. There is probably some information about botanics or geology or history that you don't know exactly. You need to find out about that. This is going to make you a better guide, and this is going to make you a more solid tour company. You know, this is going to bring you those clients for which you need to work probably less and from which you can make more money. You know, but these are the kind of clients you want to work with. You know, be the best possible and keep working on this, but do it with enthusiasm. This is not a military service. You know, you need to love doing this, I believe.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I think, yeah, that just gives those personal experiences, doesn't it? That people remember and people recommend to their friends and come back, etc. So yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the pandemic, what difference has that made, and how important has customer service and your reputation been for you during the pandemic?
Well, 2 years of pandemic almost now in Albania and probably all around the world. And what happened during the first year, it was terrible, of course, like you guys know, everywhere. You know, we didn't know what was happening, how long it would go on, and when it would end. And this was a terrible, terrible suffering and scary situation. Well, we didn't stop. To be honest, we didn't stop. There's been probably thousands of hours on Zoom, and we kept working together also with the Travel Foundation. You know, we tried to participate and be active and not lose the good mood, let's say. I mean, in Albania, I'm not sure about Jamaica, but in Albania, we've seen a lot of difficult moments, even in my lifetime. You know, 45 years, I've seen difficult moments. So it is not easy to scare us, but still, we need to be, you know, our feet in the ground, and we needed to find out ways of survival. And what happened is that we totally lost the clientele that was coming through tour operators from Switzerland, the UK. There was no group, at least in our case, you know, in our partner's case. But we did work hard. In these 15 years, we worked hard with any client, you know, any individual client. Even if we weren't making enough money, we tried to make them happy. And we never forgot to ask them to let others know. And how do you let others know? It is, of course, the word of mouth, social media. You know, we used platforms like TripAdvisor or other platforms as well. And we try to have sincere. We never paid anyone or try to corrupt anyone to give, you know, fake ratings of us. You know, if you go on TripAdvisor and you look at our ratings, I believe that they are probably 95% of them, they are genuine. There's a couple of friends of mine which without asking, but they've been on tours with me. But anyway, like they have given a couple of ratings, but most of them, you know, they are genuine, real clients which had real experiences with us. And we always ask them to tell what they think. And they did help, because what happened is that since last winter, like almost a year ago, we started to have individual clients. You know, Albania was also a very open country. We had no big tragedy with the pandemic. And, you know, we started to have individual clients, and somehow that saved us. You know, all this year, and the season has only started to calm down a couple of weeks ago, because we kept having families and couples and individuals which came to travel through us, and we always try to ask, how did you find us? How did you find us? You know, it looks like the general situation is that they found us through the website and through social media or online platforms like the TripAdvisor one. Actually, and this was great. You know, it kind of saved us for the moment, and hopefully next year this is not going to be a problem anymore. I mean, we can see the bookings have started with a lot of our partners in Scandinavia, especially, or the US. So come on, guys, all of us, we will make it. Next year it will be a booming year. You know, we just need to make it better than we used to do it before.
Thank you, Elton. That's a great positive note, and a great link as well with what we were just thinking about, and Bianca will be talking about as well, a bit more about that online presence and how important that is. You know, that's been, yeah, your route to market during this difficult time has been, you know, because you've put that work in over those previous years. So thank you so much. I think we've got a few minutes. If anybody has any questions for Elton, if you'd like to pop them in the chat. Or just unmute yourself and ask a question. We've just got a few minutes, but please be welcome to. I'll ask a quick question in case people are typing. What would be your top tip in terms of offering great customer service? What would be your main tip to other businesses?
Put yourself in the place of the customer. Imagine, you know, like you've been working all year long and you can't wait for that holiday or that trip to happen. You've saved money and everything. Just make sure to make them as happy as you'd want others to be. You know, like put yourself, maybe earn $50 less, but try to make them happy. You know, like don't save on their happiness. That's my top tip.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, and the feedback is good because sometimes if
yeah, it's not a question, but a comment. Excellent points. Be the encyclopedia, the golden rule. Thank you. Of course, she enjoyed every bit of your talk. Great, thank you, Lydia. That's great feedback.
Thanks, Lydia.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Thank you. And I think it's, you know, it just shows that, yeah, as tourism businesses, wherever we are in the world, you know, we've got the same challenges, but the same opportunities as well. And I think, you know, it's been great to hear how you've made use of those. Thank you ever so much. Really appreciate your time, Elton. Thank you.
I have one question.
Got a question. Elton. That's okay.
I have one question before Elton goes, if no one else has any other questions. Because as he was talking about, you know, knowing your customers and communicating with them about, you know, what the kinds of customers they are, I thought about a friend of mine who went on a trip to Dubai a few years ago and went on a tour, and all she can talk about is somebody else on the tour, an older person who was using a walker, and held them up. and she remembers nothing about the tour except that inconvenience to her as a participant. So I wanted to ask Elton, in a situation like that, how do you, especially when it comes on to direct bookings where it's not coming to a tour operator who would have vetted the people before, how do you go about just ensuring that the persons you are having on that tour are persons, sort of the same fitness level and that kind of thing? What would your advice be?
What a great question, Coral. Listen, how is it possible that you are a business, you will say no to that person, although you know that she's 85 years old and she's got problems with walking? How difficult it is for you to say no, you can't participate in this tour because physically it's not made for you. Well, I believe there's so many clients which will be happy to pay a bit more, and why not? I mean, I'm a big fan now of all these clients that I see from all over the world. They can, especially after the pandemic, they can afford more. And I would rather suggest that, oh, there is this lady, but she's 82. Do you think she can participate? I believe so, but we will need to hire a person to take care of her so that she can stand by a knee, by the shoulder, or we will need to hire a special car to bring her in the X castle or everything. I believe that it is our duty to never say no, but you need to find the proper solution so that everyone is happy around. And I believe in most circumstances, there is always a solution. Of course, I mean, come on, you won't bring her in the Arctic, because this is out of mind. Or you won't bring her 80 meters underwater, although she used to dive, but now she cannot dive anymore. But, when it comes to visiting a botanical garden, which is too big and where she will need to walk a lot, well, I believe there is a golf car for rent somewhere, and there is a solution. I believe it's amazing and very important to propose solutions. Of course, this needs more work and everything, but do it and build up your reputation of a company which gives solutions. As I said, at least in our case, we tried to be acting as an artisan rather than as a big factory. Probably with a big factory, you make more money, but as an artisan, you will make happy money. It will make you happy to see all these people that have been challenges, and you will need to be in a challenge all the time. I'm sure there is a solution all the time, but open your ears, open your mind, open your phone book, and make sure you have 1 million phone numbers there. And make sure you open your TV every night and watch what happened last night. Make sure you know the doctor. Make sure you know the president of the country. Try to build up, a system of knowledge. This is going to make you, survive through a complicated business and a complicated world. Not sure if that's a good answer, but
That's great. Thank you, Elton. I don't think there are any more comments or questions, so we'll move on. But thank you ever so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, guys. So, yeah, and please, next time, let's do this event. Let's do it live and invite me in Jamaica and make me as well a happy man. But you guys are doing a tremendous work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So the third part of our presentation today is on online sales and marketing. Again, this is the third section of the toolkit that you'd also receive after this session. So there is a lot of information in there, and I'm conscious this is a big topic to cover in 5 or 10 minutes. So again, it will just be a top level kind of overview of the main themes in online sales and marketing. And there is a lot of detail to help you work through in the toolkit that you'll receive after this. So online platforms really have really changed, particularly in the last decade in particular, changing the way that travel is researched and bought and sold. So some Google research in the last couple of years found that 82% of all travel bookings in 2018 were made online via a mobile app or a website without any human interaction at all. So yeah, 82%, that's a really obviously huge share of that market. And nearly half of travellers in the UK and the USA are comfortable researching, booking and planning their trip using only a mobile device, so not a laptop or tablet, but just booking on their smartphone effectively. So again, a huge change in those patterns. So online platforms, what are they used for and how can they help your business? So they can help but in terms of customers researching ideas, activities, accommodation. They can read reviews and they can book either directly or indirectly by using other platforms. So the kind of platforms that we're talking about are meta search engines, so things like Google and TripAdvisor. Review websites where customers can look at reviews of businesses they might be interested in. So they might have searched for them, for example, on Google, found something there, gone onto the review websites and are reading about what customers are saying about those businesses. Online travel agents that we were thinking about as a route to market earlier, so Booking.com and others. Social networking, social media sites, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. So that's a really common way for customers to, again, to look at what other people are saying, what content's being shared on those networks. So in terms of the customer journey, there's all sorts of different ways that that customers might find your business and might book, and at any point in this journey they might book. So if you look at what's on the screen at the moment, they might use an OTA, for example, such as Booking.com or others, to find out what properties are available. So they can then filter those results based on any requirements that suit them. So that might be by price, it might be by facilities. So do they want a swimming pool in the property, for example? Do they want an ensuite bathroom? They might look for something by location, for example, near a beach. And although I'm talking about accommodation here, in some ways this is also true of experiences and tours as well. Increasingly, as those are sold online, those will be filtered by what people are looking for. They might be looking for a particular activity in a particular location, for example. So having got to that point, they're filtering. They might book there, they could book there, but they might move on in that journey without booking. They might go on to something else like TripAdvisor to look at a review site and see what previous customers have said about the business and are saying about the business. So they'll do a bit more research perhaps, and they might book at that point. They might either book by going back to the OTA, or they might go off in a different direction and book through another agent. So that's another point at which they might book. Moving across to the picture of the room there, they might actually go to your own website to find out some more information. So they might want to look at how you're promoting your own business. They might want to compare prices. They might want to look for more photos, etc. And again, they might book here, so they might contact you directly through your own website. So it's really important to have those details there so they can do that if that's what they want to do. Or they might use a booking engine on your site, or they might go back to the original search engine that they used, an OTA that they used, to find out more information. Before they do that, or along the way, they might also look at your social media pages to find out a bit more about your business. They might want to see what else is in the area and see what you're all about. So they might follow you there on social media. They might do that for a while before perhaps going back to book, or they might message you there with questions. So there's all sorts of different points in that journey that they might make inquiries and book, all through those different online platforms. Sorry, just click on to the next slide. Another type of customer journey, starting with social media at this point. So this is a different journey, starting from a different point. So an Instagram user in this case sees a post from a friend who's on holiday in Jamaica. They've tagged their location and the friend thinks, I like the look of that. They start to follow you on social media, and they might start to research their own holiday to Jamaica. So it's really like an online word of mouth at this point. They're seeing other people's posts and that's piquing their interest. At that point, they might visit several tour operators to look at package holiday options, and they might book there. So that's almost the opposite way around, really. They're starting off with that social media content, and it's inspiring them to search and potentially book with a tour operator. And then the final one on the right-hand side, a more general interest perhaps initially. So a Twitter follower might be interested in Caribbean food. They come across a blog about Jamaica. They start to think about cooking experiences in Jamaica and looking into the possibilities. They then go onto Google and search for cooking holidays in Jamaica. They might find reviews of your business if that's something you're offering. And in this case, we've got here, they contact you directly to inquire through Facebook Messenger, and they ask for advice on the local area and where to stay. So they decide to follow your recommendations and make a reservation. So as you can see, there's all sorts of different ways at which, and different points in that journey at which you can be in touch with potential customers, answer their inquiries, engage them, engage their interest in what you're posting, perhaps on your own website or social media, or via these other online platforms. So just some top tips. And again, there's much more detail on this in the toolkit. I appreciate it's a lot to go through in one slide, but just some top tips that you can read more about in the toolkit. So first of all, really important to make sure you have a website for your business. It doesn't need to be expensive or complicated, but it just needs to be clear about what your business is, where it is, how to book, other key things that your customers need to know. You could have a look at other businesses in your area or other businesses of your type to see the kind of things that they're putting on their websites. And really important as well to take the best photographs that you can of your property. A good picture really speaks volumes, probably more important than words. So use the best pictures that you can on your website and on social media for some free publicity. The next one is about property management systems providers. This is a technology provider that can help you to take bookings online. So that would enable you to get bookings from overseas, either from direct clients or potentially through online travel agents. A strong brand identity is really important as well. It makes it really clear what why your business is unique, and you can use language to give that brand a personality. So if you're a warm and friendly bed and breakfast, you can bring that through in the kind of language that you use when you're talking about your business. Harnessing the power of reviews is really key. So obviously the higher your rating and your ranking, the more visibility you'll have online, the more booking inquiries you'll generate. So customer reviews are really important to successfully marketing your business online. They allow guests to leave honest feedback that you can act upon and respond. The more positive reviews, as I say, will increase your visibility there. You can compare yourself with competitors. So it's really helpful to encourage all customers to leave a review. That might be when they leave, it might be if you send them an email after their stay. And also, actually, it's really important to minimize any possible negative reviews by checking in with customers during their stay or during their visit to your attraction or experience, that everything's going well. Also really important to respond to any reviews, to thank those customers and show that you care and that you intend to address any issues that are raised in those reviews, and also to discuss any reviews with staff, either to congratulate them on giving a really great customer service, or to address any issues and how that could be improved. Search engine optimization is something that we go into in more detail in the toolkit, and it might be something that's new to you. It effectively works on the basis that when somebody searches using a search engine, that search engine obviously generates a list of results, and if you can provide that search engine with effectively the topics and that want it to find, that will optimize the way that your business appears. So the way you can do that, for example, is to come up with the most important topics for your business. So, for example, if you happen to offer guided Jeep tours, for example, you would the kind of topics you might include there would be Jeep tours, expert guides, wildlife, etc. You'd then around that create a longer list of keywords. So that might be 4x4 or off-road experience, rugged adventure, scenic tours, those kind of keywords, and you then weave those keywords into your website content so that if people are looking for those kind of tours, they will find their way to your website more easily. Social media, we've covered quite a bit already, and that's really about interacting with your followers regularly, making sure you're giving them relevant and interesting content, and really being authentic, adding lots of personality and stories to what you're selling. So that's your opportunity to really bring it alive and tell the story of your business. Very briefly, travel influencers are people who share their experiences of traveling, tourism and culture on a blog and social media. They're less formal than kind of traditional journalists, if you like. They're really passionate about their own interests and what they discover, and they can be a good link to sort of new audiences and their experience at creating high quality content. So have a look at the kind of influencers that might be relevant for your business, and test run before you invite them, so that you can make sure that you're going to offer them something that appeals to them and their followers. And then finally, adapt your content for different platforms. So it's really important to remember that replicating content precisely across lots of different platforms isn't advisable, because audiences for those different platforms are quite different. So try and think about how you might use social media for the different audiences that you're trying to reach, and tailor the content that you provide to them. I'm going to just share my screen just to welcome our next guest, Bianca Young. I'll just play from this slide. So yeah, welcome. Warm welcome to Bianca, who's the marketing manager at the Animal Farm and Nature Reserve. And Animal Farm and Nature Reserve are one of the booster businesses that the Big Up Small Business Project has been working with closely over the last couple of years to support their business activities. And Bianca and the Animal Farm and Nature Reserve were the winners of our recent digital marketing competition that we ran with those businesses. She put together a really amazing social media campaign, which was really successful, and we were really impressed with. So we thought it would be great to invite her today just to talk about her experiences of digital marketing and what she's learning as they go along as a business, to share some of her experiences with you today. Thank you.
Yes,
welcome.
I do. Thank you very, very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation and the opportunity to speak to you today. So just very briefly, Animal Farm and Nature Reserve is an ecotourism attraction. We're located in Kops, Hanover. That is just about 30 to 40 minutes away from Montego Bay. So we are well located, but we are in a rural location. And so in terms of our social media presence, online presence, we have pretty much been self-managing that for some time. And that's has been a journey, one with, I would say, a slow progression initially, because we weren't spending a lot of time figuring out how to use the platforms to our advantage. So while our goals were, of course, to drive traffic to our websites and also to increase bookings, we didn't really have a strong strategy to do so. Oh, maybe I can move this out of the way as well. Okay, perfect. So just very quickly, I'm just going to skip over that since I've sort of started already. We are on Instagram. That's a little bit more recent, but our Facebook presence has been there since about 2011 or so, along with when our website went up. Most recently, we've been on YouTube. And TripAdvisor, though maybe not traditionally a social media or defined as a social media site, it has been one of the areas or one of the platforms that we've benefited from, especially because there's the ability for users to post reviews and for us to respond as well. So initially, TripAdvisor was really a great tool for us. And we are yet to capitalize on continuing to use it. Facebook was the original. We were posting pictures, albums, but a lot of those were not necessarily high quality. They weren't necessarily geared to invite special interest into, visitors necessarily. And when we did start our Instagram, linking it to our Facebook, that was something we're able to do and have, sort of a joint effort there. But like I said, the strategy wasn't there. So let's say starting about 2018 is when we started to make a bigger, more concerted effort into posting more frequently. That was the first message that we sort of received, like, hey, what are we not doing right? Reaching out to our biggest fans of the business and saying, what can we do better? And one of it was, we'll post more frequently. So, all right, that was our first step. We start posting more frequently. But one of the problems was the quality of the photographs, quality of the content as well, not just the photos itself, but also what descriptions we were putting, what the captions we were actually adding to the posts. And so it was a progression, like I said. We started to do a little bit more in terms of the quality, get better pictures, or say, okay, well, you have a great camera, one of our visitors, can you take a few pictures for us and share it that way? So that's sort of how we were doing it. We were sort of borrowing help where we could, and not putting much other resources into the social media efforts there. But due to the pandemic, where we got a little bit more time under our hands, we were able to really ramp up our efforts. So I'm going to just very briefly, through the digital marketing campaign, as well as through some top tips that we have, just tell you a little bit about what we've been doing and how it's been effective. So starting with the Sorry, it may have frozen, but I was just trying to show you a clip of the main video that we created for our Free as a Bird Independence campaign. And the purpose of the campaign was really to market Animal Farm and Nature Reserve as an event location, because we are able to and have in the past hosted events. So we wanted to take the opportunity to show that, you know, we can host up to 100 persons. Obviously, COVID, that's not necessarily a possibility, but, you know, show what our capacity is, show the different event spaces, the different locations on our farm, on our property, as well as to show what sort of amenities we can offer with that. So, you know, the opportunity for our guests to rent our grill and, you know, grill burgers and so on, or to hire our chef and let us cater for an event. So we have open space, we have covered spaces, we have the ability to have a playground, so we have the ability to do children's parties and so on. Part of our offering then as well will be tied to having your event tied to a tour, right? So we have our farm tour and a petting zoo, petting farm experience. And so if you're having a kid's birthday party, yes, we'll set up the cake and ice cream set up, as well as take the kids on an exciting tour. So that was really what we were trying to do there. Overall, for the duration of the campaign, which was from July 20th to August 12th, we created 19 different social media campaign posts. Most were all on Instagram and cross-posted on Facebook. We also used stories for the first time, pretty much for the first time. And that resulted in 292 different Instagram profile visits, 146 website taps. So we're looking at the previous 24 days, which was maybe like 3 or 4 website taps, all the way up to 100 and 100 odd. We also, in order to do this, updated the events page on our website. And a website update is something we also did during the pandemic. Our website had been down for actually 2 or 3 years. And we did have somebody externally managing it, but we decided to change our strategy, learn how to do it ourselves, and take on that role. And so we did upgrade that, and during this time specifically created this events page in order to promote that aspect, as I was mentioning earlier. And so we tried as best as possible also to use family to repost, I should say, the different posts that we created for the campaign. And we did spend also some money. We spent $15 US. That was the total that we spent. 12 was on our main promotional video, which is the one that I was just showing you a while ago, which showed the different event locations. We did, and then we spent $1. sorry, $3 on the music that we use for that video. So $15, which we felt was a reasonable amount to do for this campaign, and it paid off in terms of, at least for the competition. And what we also saw, we got a lot of reach, and as you can see from on the screen, we reached 14,000 accounts. That's much higher, I mean, exponentially higher than we would do so on a normal basis. But you'll see there that 81.4% was from ads and promotions. So of that, what did I say? Of that $15, some of it was spent on boosting some of our content, and primarily that video. So a lot of that reach came from there. Some of those persons were followers, about 1,000, but actually 13,000 were non-followers. So we're actually very happy that we were able to get reach beyond our following. And so, right, here I was just pointing out the results of the campaign, right? 14,000 reached, 81% of those were from ads and promotions. So the investment there is where we're seeing that result. We also saw that 13,000 of those were from non-followers, so we're happy for that. We're also able to share or see, for instance, how many times these posts, this particular post was saved or bookmarked. You can see that there are 11, which is something that in our journey to learn these things, we realized we'll never use the bookmark feature, even in our personal use. What is it for? How does it impact anything? And actually there is an impact. So just a comment that will come a little bit later about how to learn about the platforms and really capitalize on what they have to offer. This is just a demonstration of where we're seeing traffic to our website. So this is from the website statistics, where in the previous 24 days of the campaign, we were seeing some our traffic was mostly coming from Google searches. But during that campaign, we really saw Instagram being a major contributor there. And so really, I'm just going to get into our top tips and then leave it for questions. So the first tip is organization. And one of the things that we have used in the past 2 years is the platform called Buffer. And there are other ones. It's a social media management tool or a scheduling tool. This one does have a free option, so we're not actually spending any money on it. It's an app that you can download from the App Store. And what we use it for essentially is just to schedule posts. So on a Sunday, we can say, okay, well, this week we're going to post 5 times or 6 times, and actually create the posts, create the captions, create the hashtags, and schedule them for certain times of day, and they will go out automatically. Occasionally, if you are sending or you're trying to post additional or like multiple videos at a time, you won't be able to do so, but it will give you a reminder, say, hey, it's time to post, and you come and do it manually. So it will still create everything for you and you can do so. But it's been a great tool so that the time which social media takes up, which is a big one since we're self-managing, is minimized for that investment. The other thing we learned is about how to be more strategic with how we're posting, how we're showcasing our offerings. And so what we did was kind of sit down and say, well, what is it that we want to showcase? And we decided on, okay, we want to show a little bit of what farm life looks like. So that's some of the farm animals, that may be some of what we're doing, so feeding, cleaning up, and so on. The flora, so pictures of flowers and the gardens that we have. We have quite a number of different gardens. We also have quail products because aviculture, raising and rearing of birds is one of our major offerings. We have a beautiful nature and scenery to offer. So we have, and then we have nature quotes, which is something that we actually have on farm, like actual physical signs. So we'll take pictures of those and post them, and then reviews. And so what we do is to try within a week or within a 2-week period is try to hit those categories at least once or twice. So we'll, in a snapshot of our social media, as you see on screen, we have here a picture of Dolly, who's our sheep, but we also have, a beautiful hibiscus. We have some quail eggs there, down in the middle, bottom hand side of the screen, we have one of our reviews from our customers. Some of the fruit on the farm, you'll see a jackfruit in the top left-hand corner, and the top right-hand corner, there's rafting. There's a picture of the river with a raft and some people on it. So we've really tried to make sure that we're showing the diversity of our offerings, and it keeps things interesting. It keeps things fresh for the viewers. So organization is a main one. Next is quality visuals. I won't harp on this one too much because we've heard it. Definitely high quality photographs, but I would also mention graphics, right? So depending on what you're maybe trying to promote, let's say it's a specific event, or potentially you're just saying Happy New Year or something, and you want to create a graphic that's showing on your screen. We use Canva, also a platform that has both a free and a paid version. And that was actually what I was trying to present on. So probably not the best example in terms of the presentation quality and sharing of the screen. But I also created this entire presentation with Canva. So it has quite a few different functions. You can create stories. It gives you templates for all sorts of different types of graphics. And there are also stock photographs that you can use from there as well, if necessary. Obviously, it's best to have your own, but in a pinch, you can also use some of those, as well as different icons and so on. So Canva is definitely a tool that I would recommend if you have, if you're planning to do your own social media and own graphics. I probably don't have time for this, but I was just trying to show a little bit about what our platform looked like before and what it looks like now. And really the first two are from a little bit further back, the middle one a little bit further. And then the one on the right-hand side, that is some of the more recent pictures that we have. So a little bit higher quality, a little bit more color, a little bit more vibrant. And that's especially important for nature-based attractions where you want to kind of show off what you're there. So the dull pictures, the blurry pictures, they're really not effective. We really don't see as much engagement with those as we have seen in recent times with our more higher quality pictures. Hashtags, we're not hashtag experts, but we definitely have seen a difference between when we post without a hashtag and when we do. And then the other thing in terms of Instagram is to follow hashtags. That's something that we have seen as effective as well, because if you're looking now from outside of your, or maybe from a personal platform, for a personal page, we've been able to see, okay, well, Nature Tours Jamaica, and that coming up in your feed with a picture from Animal Farm and Nature Reserve. So it's another way to get your content out there. When it comes to hashtags, I always post over 20 or between 20 and 30 hashtags, trying to maximize on that. That may not be necessary when you are, very, very successful and you have 1 million followers and so on. But at the level we're at, based on the research that I've done, using the hashtags is a great help. And we use different hashtags based on the different types of posts. So here on the right-hand side of the screen, the top one was a picture of one of our new goats. And so I highlighted that this is a petting farm, farm life, Animal Farm Jamaica, and then some specific ones to do with goats, cute animals, but also some standard ones. So Visit Jamaica is always one that we include. Animal Farm Jamaica, like I said, that's our hashtag, so we always include it. But Tour Jamaica, Jamaica attractions, things to do in Jamaica, those ones are also ones that are standard that we typically try to include in our shots. The important thing that I've learned is that sometimes if you're using hashtags that are kind of too big, you might get lost. And so for instance, Naturegram in the bottom set of hashtags on screen has over 1 million people following that, or 1 million tags, I should say. But if you do look at Nature Tours Jamaica, it's much less, and or just Nature Tours alone, it's much less. And so your chances of showing up in somebody's feed are going to be much higher. Spending a little, this one I would really want to highlight time. Time has really been what we've had to put into this to be successful. The photography is there, models and faces. That was the other thing, that we used to have a lot of photos of you know, the plants and the animals and so on, but no pictures of anybody interacting or no pictures of anybody looking happy and looking excited to actually be at the attraction. So, and then the other thing is doing some upgrades, you know, making sure that the property is looking great when we're taking those pictures. Advertising, as I mentioned, because we definitely learned that we can have a much bigger reach and have much bigger impact when we put a few dollars into promoting a specific post or an event or whatever. And that definitely came through in the Big Up Small Business competition. And then courses and learning. And most of that, actually all of that I've done personally has been free, right? So it's just research online. It's getting into these kind of like little free offerings from social media experts who are trying to get you to, you know, buy their bigger packages, but you can really just stick to the basic ones and go from there and learn as you go. And then last but not least, as we heard from Elton's presentation, is to keep learning, right? It's got to be a continuous journey. What we haven't mastered yet is conversions. So we are definitely seeing much more engagement. We're definitely seeing a lot of more inquiries, you know, tell us about your tour, or we'd like to book a tour. But actually seeing that in the numbers is not really there yet. So we're still working on that. Stories is something that we addressed for the first time, like I said, in our digital marketing campaign. And we really did see like, wow, people actually care about these stories. They will answer the quizzes and the polls and so on. But what has been difficult is A, the time to start creating those aside from our posts, but also B, to figure out what it is to ask or what it is to highlight differently than you would in a regular post on Facebook or in a regular Instagram post. So we're still working on that. Going live is something we've never done. Reels, still don't know what that is yet. So actually that's some homework for this weekend, or at least before the new year. Following trends. This is one that we see online a lot, say, oh, well, follow the trends, and we'll see it in other people's social media that, you know, their teams do a dance that apparently is everybody's doing on social media, where we haven't gotten there yet, because that does require sort of like being on the platform more actively. New platforms like TikTok, you know, like we are thinking about it. Should we go there? Do we invest the time to learn how to do that? Or, you know, is it worth it? And then finally doing it all, you know, like how do you actually keep up? That's something that we're still working on as well. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list, but I hope that what I've shared already has been useful to you, especially those tools like Buffer. Like I said, I really would recommend, if not that one, a different type of scheduler if you're trying to do this on your own. Canva, definitely to create the graphics, just being more strategic, having a strategy when posting, right? Having that idea of like, okay, these are our offerings, so we're trying to diversify, trying to make those pictures look great and showing the different offerings. So that's it for now, and welcome your questions and comments.
Great, thank you, Bianca. I think that was quite useful, and please forgive the technical glitches that we had. So if you have any questions for Bianca, please post them in the chat. We'll take a few minutes. I think we're a bit over time. We'll take a few minutes to answer your questions if you have any. Let's see, I see. One, I think, I don't know, question or comment. Bianca had no clue there's an animal farm in Montpelier. Great job with implementing a strong digital presence, and thanks for sharing your strategy and providing tips on digital marketing. So that's from Lydia.
I think that's a great point as well. Hopefully some of what we've managed to achieve through these webinars is just connecting you all as well, actually, because actually if the accommodation providers know about the attractions and the guides and the food and drink in their area and all the other activities and excursions, then actually linking up is a really great thing to be able to do, just to know about each other and point your customers to each other, etc. So yeah, that's great to see.
And you can learn from each other's best practices and learn from each other's mistakes. So that's good too, right? I wanted to mention, if we, while people are thinking about what questions they may have, that we also have a digital marketing ebook that is on our website, the Big Up Small Business website. So it's at bigupsmallbusiness.org. and it has some guidelines, and really takes you through a step-by-step process in terms of your digital marketing. So for those of you who are interested, you can go to our website and actually download that digital marketing ebook to assist you as you go on with your journey. Are there any questions for Bianca, or even for Rebecca's previous presentation? One question, Rebecca, how often do you suggest that we post on social media?
Yeah, I think that was for Bianca, but yeah,
sorry, Bianca.
that's okay. she's much more expert than I am on that front. Sorry. Definitely. That's fine.
Definitely daily. We aim for 6 days a week, just to give ourselves the 1 day to organize and plan, but definitely 6 days a week. But what I've learned is that it can be in any sort of the different forms of posting, right? So you have the post, you have the story. Daryl has put in the comment to tell us about what the actual reels are. So I haven't learned that yet, but it's another way of getting some organic content. I guess it must be more similar to what TikTok is doing, I think. So, if you're not posting an official post, you can also, just do a story that day or a couple stories that day. But I would say daily. Multiple times a day, I think, is a little bit much. One of the things I have done is to think about the timing. And for a lot of times I'm looking online and say, 6 p.m. on a Thursday, blah, blah, blah. That has not really been that helpful. But what has been helpful is if, for instance, you go onto Instagram, if anybody actually has their phone right now, and you go and you sort of pretend that you're going to do a live. Now, I mentioned I've never done a live, but if you go like you're going to post, it will tell you how many people are active at the time. And so now that I kind of know what the patterns are, I won't post unless I have, let's say, over 35 people online at the time that I'm posting. That number, of course, will vary based on the number of followers you have. But for us, that's kind of where I've made the baseline there. So I know that, at 6 a.m., obviously, maybe there will be 3 people online. I'm not going to post there, but actually sometimes at 8 or at 7:30, there are 40 people online. And I'm like, okay, even though Instagram says, between 8 and 9 and then 6 and 9 p.m. I've been able to see that for me, or at least for our followers, 7:30 a.m. is actually a good time. That's maybe when people are just waking up and they're just checking their phones. And so just going to like the add button at the bottom of Instagram, going over to live, and then looking at who's online. I say, okay, that many, now I'm going to post.
Great. Thanks. I'm seeing another question. How do you build a strong platform to actually lure people to your page in order to gain followers?
Great question. The following can take some time, but definitely once you're using the hashtags and you're using high quality photos and you're posting regularly, so regular posting with high quality and hashtags, it will organically happen. But the other thing that we've done is to reach out to have family help, right? So everybody has their network, like please share the page, get your friends to follow. That's kind of how we started off pushing it in the beginning. And then it has organically happened since then. We're actually kind of getting followers who are from overseas and so on because of the hashtags. That's been what we've been doing. And then when we sponsor posts, when we actually put a few dollars into a specific post highlighting something or highlighting the farm in general, we're also gaining there. So spending a few dollars does help as well.
Great, thanks, Bianca. I think we're going to move on now because we're kind of strapped for time. But if anyone else has any other questions, like before, you can email it to us, and we'll, if we can't answer, we'll send it to Bianca, and then we'll respond to you with an answer. Thanks a lot, Bianca, for that very useful presentation. I think you've gave us some really good tips that the businesses should be able to use, and you can all connect with each other as well. So great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Coral. We are just going to, we've just got a couple more things to do just before we finish up. The first of which is a quiz with 4 questions that I'm just going to launch in a second, really just to help us kind of embed what we've been learning about in the last couple of hours. So there's 4 questions, and for each of them you can select one answer. The first one is: a customer is looking for information to book accommodation and activities. They would most likely conduct a search using meta search engines, OTA sites, social media sites, or all of the above. I'm conscious that if you don't have the most up-to-date version of Zoom, you may not see all of these. So I'll continue to read them out, and you can still think of your answers even if you can't post the answer. So the second one is: a customer wants to search for activities or accommodation, but wishes to filter their search by price, location, or facilities. The best online platform for them to use is social media sites, or meta search engines, or online travel agent sites, or all of the above. And then the third one is: I want to provide regular fresh content to inspire potential customers, network with other businesses and individuals, and have direct contact with customers. What's the best online platform to use? Is it OTA sites, social media sites, meta search engines, or all of the above? And then the final one is: what factors should you consider when setting up social media platforms for your business? Audience, resources, suitability, or all of the above? Okay, so for the first one, the customer that's looking for information to book accommodation and activities, they probably would use all of those different online platforms. So they might use a meta search engine to look for particular keywords that they're looking for. That might lead them to an OTA site, or they might go straight there, or they might use social media to look for particular locations or type of businesses. But probably in combination, that's increasingly what's happening, is that people are using that combination of different sources of information, because that gives them, that's those different levels of information that they're looking for from different points of view as well: reviews, social media content, etc. Okay, and then on the second one, the customer wants to search for activities or accommodation, but wants to filter their search by price, location, or facilities. The best online platform for them to use for that would be an OTA site, because if they're looking for a particular price, they can tailor the search according to their price parameters. They can look for particular facilities. They might want facilities for children, for example, or a swimming pool. They might want either all-inclusive or bed and breakfast or room only, for example, if they're looking for accommodation. So that's where they would head if they had those filters they wanted to apply. The third one: I want to provide regular fresh content to inspire potential customers, network with other businesses and individuals, and have that direct contact with customers. Social media sites really offer that, in particular, as Bianca's just been saying, really that opportunity to keep that content refreshed and offering different stories, etc. And then finally, what factors should you consider when setting up social media platforms for your business? Absolutely all of the above. So tailoring the content to your audience, considering the resources you've got. So what do you need in terms of time and resources, and the suitability of the platforms for your particular business as well. So thinking about all those things together. Okay, thank you. I'm going to just hand over to Coral, who's just going to take us through some key takeaways from today, and then we'll round up in the next few minutes. Thank you.
Yes, so we're going to just go through the quickly go through the takeaways for today just before we wrap up. So in terms of the key takeaways, in looking at your routes to market, what you should do is that you should know all the routes to market and select the right mixture for your business. So there are several routes to market, either through direct sales or through indirect sales with third-party operators and various online platforms. You need to decide which avenues are most appropriate for your business, and you need to follow the advice that was given by Rebecca for how best to sell your product through each channel. The other key takeaway is that you need to enable your customers to book online. So it's highly recommended that you have an online presence and that you have the mechanism for booking your products. So market share for online bookings continues to increase, especially since the pandemic. So if you don't have this option, you could really be losing business. Now is a good time to put in that option in place. And again, as we've been saying before, and as Tamika also said earlier, flexibility is key. We've said this a few times. The COVID-19 pandemic has made flexible booking and cancellation policies top of mind with travelers. In terms of customer service and communications, what you need to bear in mind are these takeaways. One, customer service has the potential to make or to break a business. So review all of your interactions with your customers and ensure that you provide a warm welcome, ensure that you anticipate customer needs, ensure that you manage customer expectations, and make sure that your staff remain well presented, friendly, and professional throughout the entire customer journey. Secondly, you need to provide feedback mechanisms. So making it easy for customers to contact you is going to help to build trust and to enhance your reputation. And always respond to queries and complaints in a timely manner. And the third takeaway we want to leave you with is you should let your customers know how you are responding to the pandemic. Now, in terms of online sales and marketing, the key takeaways we want to leave you with are: one, you need to invest in online marketing. In this day and age, it is really vital that tourism businesses engage in online marketing. Take the time to set up a website for your business, including a booking mechanism to enable tourists to book directly with you. So even if you have your social media sites, some things that you would want to post on your website are best done that way, on that platform. So you should still have even if it's a simple website, you should still have one. And of course, if you have a booking mechanism, it can cut out the middleman and maximize your revenue. The second takeaway is that you should select social media channels to support your marketing. So you can complement your website with some dedicated social media channels, but you should make sure that you focus on quality over quantity. And you saw from Bianca how her social media platform account has changed in terms of the quality of the postings and so on, and how that has resulted in some positive increase in followers and so on for her site. So the quality is very important over quantity, I'm going to say. Choose one or two platforms too, in terms of the number of platforms that you're on. Choose one or two and do them well, rather than setting up accounts on multiple platforms that are difficult to maintain. Again, she talked about a lot of time, the time it takes to maintain these different accounts. So you want to make sure that what you have are manageable and that you are able to put the time in to ensure that you manage them properly. And finally, I'm going to say, take the time to create an appealing brand. Develop engaging and original content that is relevant to your product, that identifies and promotes your unique selling points, and that use your best images. Create a relevant tone of voice and be consistent across all your different channels that you're marketing on. Make sure also that the information on your website and on your social media site is kept up to date, so that potential clients are made aware of any changes to your services and so on. So for example, if your opening hours have changed due to COVID-19, or if you have changed your COVID-19 health and safety procedures, all of that information needs to be available on all your marketing channels. And I think that is it for the key takeaways.
Okay, so thank you all very, very much for being part of this webinar and the previous webinars. For those of you who've been with us, some of you have been with us for all four, but that's been great. But for all of you who've attended any of them, we're really grateful, and we hope that it's been very useful to you. This is, as you know, part of the Big Up Small Business project that we're running in partnership with the TUI Care Foundation. We're very grateful for their support, and in partnership with TPDCO for this series of webinars. As I say, we hope it's been helpful to you. I've just popped the survey link for the main survey in the chat. If you haven't been able to complete that yet, we would find it really helpful if you can. Don't worry if some answers aren't relevant to your particular business, but please do complete it as much as you can. Again, it helps us to tailor the resources and support that we're able to offer. And any questions or further feedback, please do get in touch with us. The email address is there. So yes, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.